I'm going to take off the mute. Mute off.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We are H&D Abroad.
I'm Herman.
I'm Dee, and our channel is about us being mid-career professionals that are planning to move abroad. We don't have a designate destination in mind, but we are using research, scouting trips, and developing community with people like you to gather as much information and get on a path to leaving the US. If that interests you, go ahead and hit the like button for this video. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell because so that you can get alerted when we have a video coming up next. We go live every Saturday.
Every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central.
Okay, so we're going to get right into it. We are talking about advice from the internet. So when you are not in a place, you've got to get to that place. And um, the internet is the most powerful tool. This is the best time. And I'm speaking from experience. We wanted to move abroad for many years, and the internet has been the vehicle to help us to go from wishing to action.
Yes, there's
So,
so much information that is on the internet that helps you to search your style, your interests, how you look at things. But what we've also noticed is in that research, you've got to research some of the research that's put out for you. We want to discuss some of those things with you today.
yeah, so we're gonna talk about where we have been searching.
Hmm.
So if you know there are some other places we should be searching, please put them in the comments. Um, and I think our focus for this talk is about our desire to probably look more at residency because we're able to secure being in a place for a longer period of time. So, um, those that are looking for, where can your U.S. tourist visa go, and how many days you can be there. A lot of times, you're getting 180 days in a lot of places with just a standard tourist visa. Somewhere between 90 and 180 is what we've seen posted a lot. And so, if you're looking to kind of bop around, using your tourist visa options, knowing, this just a Google search or a search through the U.S. Department of State is where you're going to find where, you know, um, do you have to get that visa before you leave the US or can you get it when you land in the airport? But the U.S. Department of State is probably going to be your best and most reliable source
Correct.
for those tourist visas. But our conversation is we want to be in a place for a while. We're talking about a year or more, and so we're having to do a little bit more digging to find out what those temporary, permanent visa options are. So we did start with like general Google search,
Right.
for different countries.
We started with general Google search, and then naturally we transitioned to YouTube to view other people's experiences. Our
Hmm.
general search Google wise was, where is the area? How large is the area? What are some of the general requirements? So we went on to some of the countries' government sites to explore what are their requirements and recommendations, and then buttress that with YouTube and people's experiences with that. We are looking at things like Dee said that are a lot more uh, temporary yet permanent in nature, a lot less vacation style in
Hmm.
nature, because we want to be able to really spend some time in the areas that we explore so that we can make a critical decision, a
Yeah,
valuable decision.
we want to connect with the culture
Right.
more than just in a touristy way. And we know people like the Yarbroughs are able to get up and close and personal
Hmm.
with culture, even within the tourist visa option. So, I mean, knowing what our options and opportunities are, I think is where those searches. So we mentioned Google, we've mentioned State Department and consulate
Hmm.
pages for the different countries that we're looking at. YouTube is a great vehicle for finding out people's experiences. Um, the other is Facebook. So Facebook groups
Hmm.
based on the country are another great resource for where are people talking the talk of being either short term in a place, um, getting that temporary, which is longer than the tourist visa, or permanent status visa. Where are the people talking about that? So
That community networking piece is beneficial because you are talking to people who either A, are on the ground in places you're exploring, or have been there, as well as they create a networking to resources and people who provide some of the direct information that you want to know.
mhm.
Um,
So
Dee is an excellent researcher. She's bar none one of the best researchers I know. And one of hers is reaching out to people saying, "Hey, we're looking to. Hey, we want to." And it's how we've made some contacts with people who've connected us to some other people to talk to, who've given us very valuable official information at times to go with more than just this is how I felt about it. This is, hey, here are the requirements and here's how you find them.
how do I find a doctor, a dentist, a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jewel in
Jewel Ren, correct.
Ecuador
Mm-hmm.
has been excellent at showing, you know, here are different apartments, that are available. This is the cost. Like getting in those groups, people are sharing their day to day experiences, they're sharing experiences with their facilitators that are helping them to navigate the visa process if you're doing those temporary or permanent visa
Mm-hmm.
options.
Mm-hmm.
So the Facebook groups are that, kind of real time update,
Right. Right.
as well as YouTube for what's happening on the ground. That we are getting ready to start sharing what our experience was like in Mexico. So, we're really
Excuse me.
um, excited, but have to realize there is a level of caution that we have to have, because what we have found is some of the internet sites, as well as some of the Facebook groups, might be um, maintained by uh, for-profit entities.
Mm-hmm.
So their goal is to steer you to their products and services. And we're not
We're
in
not.
the game to
We're,
knock
we're
anybody's
not. We're not
hustle,
against that. Not against that.
because we have benefited
Correct.
from those opportunities. But when you are filtering that information, you want to keep in mind that they may be um, giving some preference to some choices
Mm-hmm.
because it may benefit their business. They're out sharing information that is beneficial to their business model, and you want to have many perspectives that
Mm-hmm.
feed into what you're doing. So, um, some uh, so the truth, the truth about moving abroad advice is that you have to be solid about why you're moving abroad. I mean, even if you are like us and we're trying to make some decisions, knowing what will the move abroad accomplish for you as you're reviewing these information sources, because the information can be a real win for you or a woe, a loss. How did I get down this rabbit hole? When you go back to your why, it helps you to stay focused.
what we always encourage, and this may be biased, and it's why I say what we always encourage is a plan. I think you, in all of our videos, you'll hear us talk about some degree of a plan. Now, there are those people who can pack a bag and shut down where they live and go wherever. God bless them. We need a plan.
Yeah.
What worked for us was starting off with something as simple as what do we want? Why are we considering moving abroad? With that in mind, it gave us to talk a chance to talk about what our similarities and differences were in that approach, so that when we began to look for places, we could evaluate on a larger scale what was available to us. And it also guided where we looked and the resources that we used,
Yeah.
and how we received the information that we received. And that plan helped to guide towards where we were going, so that when we heard information that sounded different from our viewpoint,
Or different from, we're following people, and information is lining up, and then someone gives some extra information that seems to kind of be divergent
or
from,
contradictory. Yeah,
yeah, to that advice. I think it made us go out and check, is that really an availability, or they are doing something that is out of the out of a consistent process that has been successful in getting people there. So one solid example is,
mm-hmm.
we follow, the Mexican residency group,
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
We were following that group because what was happening on the ground was changing. So
Mm-hmm.
they had several changes through, could you get 180 days? Yes. A year ago,
Mm-hmm.
we were getting ready to go 9 months from when people were saying that, and the information on the ground was changing.
Correct.
And so, those are reasons why, being in those groups before you launch, especially because if we return to the U.S., I want it to be because we chose to do it,
Correct.
and not because we ran out of resources, we
Correct.
ran out of money, we got deported.
Yeah.
And these are
Absolutely.
real stories
Absolutely.
that people are sharing, either in the group or on the
And
internet.
in that group, we in that and other groups, we made contact with Mariana
Mm-hmm.
from the Mexican Relocation Project,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she is that turned out to be a really great resource for keeping a a real time follow up with what was happening in Mexico as our trip was coming up, and even while we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that community resource, we connected with not just people who are on there saying, "Hey, this is what I've done, and this is what you should be able to do," but people who actually were working with the process.
Yeah, so, the Mexican Relocation Guide was one resource
Mm-hmm.
that we follow, pretty closely, because she is giving those updates. Her information is, she's willing to say things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
And when people admit that, hey, I'm following, my ear is to the ground, um, that feels more like a source that I'm going to go to continue to vet, than people that have said, I've always had
Mm-hmm.
100%,
Mm-hmm.
success rate in getting people, through, the process that you all are trying to go through. So some advice that we are seeing, we've got some examples of a few that, what we want to do is start the conversation with, this is the kind of advice that's being offered, and this is why you might want to do a little bit, look for a little bit more information than just what's presented. So one of them is, everybody loves X
Wherever.
place.
Right. Right.
Everybody
Right.
loves, and I hate to use the top ones, but everybody loves Mexico.
Everybody loves
Everybody loves
Panama.
everybody loves Panama.
Right.
Everybody loves or is going to Portugal. And so these are the magical places. And just this week, I was reading in the Mexico residency group, and that isn't true for everyone. Sometimes the reason
Hmm.
why you leave may be because my partner, this was her example, her partner um, got a job
Hmm.
in Mexico. And so, in support of her partner, she decided to go, but was not enjoying herself. She, and the reality is, that is some people's reality. You get to a
Hmm.
place, you do all of the research, like it's the right weather, it's the right, and then you get to a place and it's not what you want it to be. And so um the everybody loves a place. You you want to you want to see if that lines up with it has the things that are important.
And to be fair to that, the opposite side of that is nobody likes it. That
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily mean it isn't the place for you. If it's on a constant visitation place, it might just, there are places that several YouTubers have expressed, hey, we're the only people here.
Mhm.
Nobody else has come here. We love this place. It has to be individual to you. Our initial searches for moving abroad were with Panama,
Yeah,
and heard some great things about Panama. And I still think it's a place we're going to spend some time exploring.
absolutely.
But one of my concerns was I began to recognize that the population that was loving it didn't necessarily match who we were. How do I explain that?
Well,
They didn't fall into some of the demographics of who we are,
right.
and they didn't have some of the same reasons for being in Panama that we are and what we're looking abroad for. It doesn't mean Panama isn't great, but the population we were looking for didn't seem that matched our demographics didn't seem to be making their way to Panama. And so it's something we're having to put more research into because everybody loves it, everybody's enjoying it, everybody's making it their home, but those people and D and I don't necessarily line up. So we'll have to put in more effort to find out.
Another that actually has wound up being, kind of checking my own bias when looking at advice, is we've had several people to really like a place that the US media has made, this is a crime hub. Nothing good is coming out of this place or these places. And when we are looking at people on YouTube that we have grown to understand and have the opportunity, to talk with them during Q&As, we're finding that there's a different picture. And
Excuse me.
so, looking at what is the truth, um, sometimes the truth is getting outside of those common media sources
Correct.
that says, one place is the best place and
Right.
these other places are just, they are they're developing countries that have, very little to no resources, and you would never find any reason to want to live there long term. And so we're taking a second look at some places because of advice or the life experiences people are sharing.
Sometimes people don't like the place because it isn't American enough.
Oh,
It does not represent and our desire, our earnest desire, probably a top line or maybe above all things, when we are finding a country to make a home, is to be a part of that country and not to make it the home we left. There are always going to be some niceties that are memories and comforts, but a place is not bad um, because it's not America,
and we
because it's
don't
not where
have
you're from.
we don't have any interest in turning the countries that we move to into anything that looks like the United States. And
Absolutely.
so, any advice about a country that we want to have our own experience, but we're learning from the experience of others. So having that lens
Hmm.
of sometimes this country looks a certain way because of the bias lens
Hmm.
that we have bought into, and we
Hmm.
need to, there's an opportunity to shift it. Another um, point of advice that we see in a lot of especially the Facebook and other online social media groups is affordability. So people are asking for advice about, is this country affordable? My affordability is definitely going to be different from yours.
Correct.
So, the Earth Awaits and other resources are really how we can look at what affordability could look like based on, how I want to live, how much money will we have available for groceries, for transportation,
Hmm. Hmm.
for walkability.
Hmm.
So, how close am I? How close am I to an airport? Affordability has so many aspects, and when people are asking just those general questions of, is this country affordable? Or even putting up a dollar amount, how you divide that out. You can live in a place for $1,500. You can live in a place for, $1,200. You could live in a place for $3,000. Affordability is really personal. And
Hmm.
so digging into and so when we talk about finances and having a budget, that's what's going to give you
Right.
something to vet that advice
Right.
with. So, cautionary tale is easy. When people are talking about
Yeah.
what's the easiest way to get something, baby, you're going to get what you pay for,
Yeah.
but also you have to vet. So, one story I wanted to share around this was somebody said that their tourist visa had expired, and someone had raised their hand in a Facebook group to say,
Mm.
I can get you your FMM, or I can get you your temporary visa card. Just give me X amount of dollars and I can make it happen for you. Needless to say, that person did not have the documents that they needed, had paid someone, and then now they're out of money. And so,
Yeah.
any caution about my visa process was easy, or my visa process was made easier because I had a facilitator. Yes, our process was more straightforward,
Right.
but bet your bottom
It
dollar
wasn't easier.
it was not easier because we had to know the process.
Correct.
We came with
Correct.
documents. We vetted what we needed with our facilitator, and and so it's not just easy because the person made it easy. The person was able to answer our questions. The person was able to
Help
to
us
be
move the
a
process
resource
forward.
and not
Hmm.
necessarily carry us to the finish line. But yes, sometimes little money does grease the wheels of information, but you still have to do your due diligence for
Absolutely.
understanding the process, so that if you have questions, you're able to ask the right questions.
All right. Another is that you have enough time. You have time. You don't have to rush. You have time. Okay. Our experience proves that that's not the case. We got our uh, we went to the consulate, Mexican consulate in
August.
August, and we had our trip planned for November. Between August and November, the process changed a minimum
2 or 3 times.
of 2 or 3 times a month, minimum. And the basics were the same, but there was so much in terms of the time frame. At some point, they really were saying, "Hey, we're having people get their visas the next day." We ended up with an extra portion to our trip, because we had to change destinations because where the destinations were making the process quote unquote easier had changed, and what was available where was shifting. We were able to get our visa in Mexico in a reasonable time, but due to our making the adjustments to where we originally had set up, where we originally had planned, we would have been a week, two
Yeah, two
weeks
weeks.
or more
Yeah.
into a process that we didn't have the time or the resources to invest in. So you really want to be you you want to act with urgency. Don't act
But thoughtfully.
irresponsibly, yeah,
Hmm.
but you want to act with urgency. And again, that goes with really being connected to the information that's available, accessing that information. Uh, you can't you can't mm, you can't have effect on what happens at your consulate and how long that takes and the things they require, but you can have enough of the information available to be in the best position when you get there to reduce the opportunity for there to be a mishap or an extended period of time or whatever. Those challenges do happen, but again, preparation, we believe, helps minimize some of those things.
Yeah. So giving yourself enough time. People are saying, oh, I did this in 24 hours or 48 hours, but you do want to at least allow yourself time on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, to kind of get past the touristy feel.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are giving advice, um, another area that I realized was that everyone commenting isn't from the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which means their visa process is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Their um, their cost of being in country and their costs for those temporary and permanent visas are going to be different. So just recognizing, and some groups actually require that you place in your question or in your comment that I'm responding as I'm from the UK or I'm from Australia, so that people have a context
Mm-hmm.
for what when you're offering the advice, um, what what lens you're looking through.
All
So the
right.
last one is
Last one is can be a challenge. This is the biggie is moving will make your life better. The expectation is I'm going to improve my life.
mhm,
What Dee and I have decided is what we've talked about is we're trying to make those improvements right here. What happens if we never leave the country?
right.
Are we making improvements on our life, or are we waiting for the paradise to fix it? For me, that's just as dangerous as saying the new baby is going to make our marriage better. The new boss is going to make my job better. If things are bad on your job, if your last three supervisors have been writing you up, your new supervisor is going to write you up. If your marriage isn't working well, your marriage is not working well, and you need to work on that. Moving to another country is going to challenge the
It's
the 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 difficulties you are already having because you're now in an uncharted area and an unfamiliar space, and even in the joy of the newness, there's an underlying of stress when you're at odds with some point of your life.
mhm.
um, if you have not, if you take your family abroad and you have not prepared your children to move abroad.
And even when you have, there's going to be transition
Absolutely.
issues. And so,
Absolutely.
looking the social media, Instagram, I mean, if people are showing sometimes the best parts of what their move abroad experience looks like. Oh, look at our apartment. Oh, but everyone isn't always um, eager to share
Mm-hmm.
that things aren't going as planned, that it took longer. Everything is Bofo is another channel we're watching, and they shared about finding an apartment. And I am more likely to trust sources that give that kind of balance of, everything is great and we had to struggle. They talked a little bit about, they left San Francisco, they moved to Valencia, Spain, and they moved during Three Kings. I mean, I was just like, crap, I never thought about what. So, thinking about how the holidays impact things being closed, look at the advice from a critical eye. If everything is pretty and shiny and um, there are no friction points, this could be a telltale sign. So, I mean,
The Yarbros have talked about financial challenges on
mhm,
their channel. The Yarbros. Cartes from Move Abroad and Thrive has talked about his challenges with the family dynamics and things that they were dealing with as a new family, as a family moving, and how it affected the different aspects and the relationships of their family. Those things move me, impress me, impact me, because those true stories say, hey,
I'm living real life
this was
in
hard.
this place.
This was hard. And it is one of the aspects we're trying to, manage even in our conversations with you. We want to be able to say, hey, we met a hiccup. We met a challenge here. This is going to take longer than we expected. This fell apart, whatever. Because we want to share with you in our walking experience how things are. But be observant in your research. Be thorough in your open-mindedness and your approach to the information you are receiving, that you are searching. What do they say? Don't just watch MSNBC. Watch Fox News too. Get all the perspectives so that you can make. Because sometimes you'll find that even in what appears to be different opinions, you'll find similarities, and those things are important.
Yeah. So, even with research, um, what we know are going to be keys are flexibility and
Mm-hmm.
just the spirit of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what will take down some of our stress is these scouting trips. Like, we would have been on the ground, we could take the time to meet people and talk to people. So um, knowing that even best laid plans, even with all the great advice, even checking advice that isn't helpful or accurate, we can do our best, but knowing that going to a new place requires that mental flexibility, um, and we're ready for it. We
Yeah.
are eager for it. So we hope everyone has a great, um, thoughtful, um, energized planning time. We'll be planning again
Mm-hmm.
next week because we start the month of love. We start the month of Black History.
Right.
And so next week, we're going to be talking to your spouse about moving abroad.
This is going
Wah,
to be a good
wah,
one.
wah.
Talking to your partner. This will be a good one.
Absolutely. So have
We're,
a good rest of the
we're
day,
Herman and
everyone.
Janika from H&D Abroad. Remember to subscribe. Remember to like this video. Remember to share it. And we'll see you soon.